welcome back to another episode of the podcast. It has been a few weeks since we've had one, but we are back. Spare you the details, but we are back and ready to keep going. We have a lot to talk about in this episode, so I'm going to spare the long intro and we'll just get right into it. You have something that you wanted to go off of first?
Yes, I do. I am very, very upset by remarks that have been made by Ye and Kyrie Irving. To me, it's a form of anti-Semitism, what they have done. And anti-Semitism is basically hostility towards or discrimination against Jews, ethnic or racial groups. And I say that because people who are in high positions, they have a right to their opinions. They have a right to say what they want. I mean, it's kind of almost like yelling fire in a movie theater. A lot of people just accept what people in high positions say without looking into the history or background of what is said. Now, I am Jewish. I have a great many friends who have lost families during the Holocaust in Germany. And I myself have been fortunate not to have lost any family, but I have experienced anti-Semitism when I was 18. I didn't know it until my father told me when we tried to get into a golf country club and we weren't accepted. And when certain schools had quota systems, they would not accept Blacks and Jews and certain minorities up to a certain point. I used to call it the sprinkling of minorities and women who are minorities. So let me give a little background as to why I am hurt by what Kyrie and Ye did. First of all, like I said, they both have a very large following. And people are entitled to believe what they want to believe, but stupid is as stupid does. And if you tell somebody that the Holocaust did not exist and that 6 million Jews did not die, and which they did, they were killed, then people don't explore the history of it and they accept it, and then they say there was no Holocaust. That bothers me. So when you have Ye and Kyrie who make remarks that in my mind are anti-Semitic, you have certain people who, follow along like sheep. And that bothers me. And punishing Kyrie with a 5-day suspension where he loses a few $1 million, or Ye losing money because he gets dropped by a sneaker company, that doesn't solve the situation. What they need is education. Education to explain to them why they may be wrong. And if after given the education, they still have the same viewpoints, well, I'm very sad for them. But again, everybody's entitled to their viewpoint. So let me give you a little background, people who might be listening. Judaism was an integral part of the Western civilization since the beginning of the Fertile Crescent civilization circa 5,000 years ago, and in Europe since the Roman rule 1,500 years ago. Negative stereotypes about Jews prominent in the late Roman Empire period. The stereotypes stem from 4th century when Christianity Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire, Jewish people were vilified as Christ killers, a reference to the Bible story of Judas' betrayal of Jesus Christ. During the Middle Ages and early modern period, Jews in Europe were increasingly persecuted. Jews were regularly beaten or killed, driven from their homes, put in ghettos, or pressured to convert to a different religion. They were forbidden to own land and prohibited from pursuing most occupations except certain trades, such as peddling goods, working in factories, dealing in grain, wood and cattle, and money trades, such as lending money for interest or banking. Because of these occupations, Jews were identified with money, creating the stereotype of Jewish people being selfish, unethical, exploitative, money grubbers, and unfortunately, the stereotype impression of Jews has persisted for hundreds of years and still exists today. And that was elicited by Ye and Kyrie, saying that Jews control Hollywood, Jews this, Jews that. But, naturally, if that was the case, they weren't ashamed to accept the big checks as people who had Jewish representatives. Now, when Hitler came to power in 1930, they combined traditional stereotypes of Jews with the growing fear of the Jewish presence in mainstream Europe, culture, and society, which was occurring through the 19th and 20th century. They believed that a small number of Jews in Europe held too much power and stressed that there was a secret Jewish plot to take over the world. Oh, this hurts me. Sadly, this thinking permeated throughout the world, from France and the Alfred Dreyfus affair to Russia and Tsar Nicholas II, who wrote about his fears of Jewish takeover. And my grandparents emanated from Russia because of this, because their family was being tormented and some killed. And in the United States, where Henry Ford, the mogul, publicly preached of his disgust of Jews. While these myths have been thoroughly debunked, many people still preach anti-Semitic ideology today. Now, at one time, the Jewish population in the world in 1933 was 15.3 million, and approximately 9.5 million lived in Europe, making Europe the home of more than 60% of the Jewish population. And after this, after the imprisonment of Jews and Jews being put in Auschwitz gas chamber camps, there were thousands of them in Germany. 6 million Jews were killed. Yet there are people in the United States and all over the world who say there was no Holocaust. And what bothers me again is when you have relevant people making statements that are anti-Semitic. Educate yourself. If you honestly believe that there was no Holocaust, then I think you should go to the Holocaust Museum, and you should visit some of the camps like Auschwitz in Germany and read about the trials of criminals that were Nazis that killed Jews. Finally, Hitler had what was known as the final solution. The final solution during the initial years of the Third Reich was the systematic murder of Jews. And that systematically began with the invasion of the Soviet Union in 1941, killing entire Jewish communities, mainly through shooting or gas vans. Now, I remember reading in my books that during the time, 1930s, when Hitler started to come into power, he was just a painter, bad painter, but a painter. The socio-economic situation in Germany was terrible. I don't know, maybe much like what's occurring here today, not as bad, but here, but people didn't have jobs, they weren't earning a living. And when you have a problem, you blame it on the weakest groups around, whether we do it here on Jews, whether we do it on Blacks, whether we do it on Asians, whether we do it on women. We tend to blame people that we figure we could get away with it. And that's what Hitler did. And in his final solution, he raised the ire of all the Germans, saying it's the Jews' fault, they got the money, they're money controllers, and so on and so forth. And this is why I think that taking away money from people like Ye or Kyrie, it's not the answer. It's not a solution to the problem. We have to know, why are they saying things like this? What cultivated within inside of them to make remarks or post things where their followers would tend to believe what they're saying or showing, and create a anti-Semitic problem again, because they're voicing out. We should know, why are they saying it, try to educate them. And if we can't educate them, or if we can and they don't accept it, well, at least we tried to solve the problem. Punishing them is not solving the problem. It's a short-term solution. So with that in mind, I approached anti-Semitism, and I want to tie in affirmative action. Affirmative action was begun years ago because women, minority groups, and if you don't agree, you can kick in, Peter, were not getting representation in jobs, in school, and they try to make it so, laws try to create a situation where affirmative action would allow them to get in based on being a minority, or being and a woman's a minority, into a job or school. I have a mixed viewpoint to that. I was an educator for 32 years. I watched while I was an educator, and I was told our tests were too difficult for, I was in a Afro-American area and Hispanic area, were too difficult for this group. And I should, not me, but all tests should be made easier. So the children and then the people could get accepted and promoted. And then this continued through high school. And then eventually we were told, well, you know what, white, after being successful and everything, white teachers shouldn't be teaching Black children. We cannot be successful. And with affirmative action, now you have children who are no longer children, they're teenagers. They've been told and brainwashed that the tests are too difficult for them, and they were. And my thought was not everybody is made to go to college. College is not for everyone. Some people have to go to trade school. So I watched as uh, some people worked as drug runners to make money for their family. They didn't come to school at an early teenage age. I watched as some of my good students, I wrote letters and I got them into better schools and better districts so that they can get a better education. And I was chastised for that. I was told I'm taking the talent out of Black communities and sending them someplace else where all I was doing was getting them scholarships to private schools. But at least they had the opportunity to get into college based on merit. Merit. Now, the last thing I want to say about affirmative action is there are two thoughts, many thoughts. One is affirmative action allows only the rich minorities to get into schools. So it's kind of like a quota system. And the other one is that by allowing minority groups to get in, and remember, I'm Jewish, I was considered a minority group. Allowing minority groups to get into college, or even further than that, minority groups getting into law school and medical school from college was just fulfilling a quota system. So at a certain point, I always believed if someone graduates from a good college with good grades, and I need a doctor, all my doctors are minorities. My regular doctor, my dental surgeon, my dentist, all minorities. I don't care. They're good. I don't ask them what college they went to. So, final point is, if you're going to get into a college or a graduate type setting, you should earn it. At some point, you should earn it, and affirmative action should go away. So that's my opinion. And as a follow-up to anti-Semitism, I remember I couldn't get into certain schools had my grades been better because I was Jewish. Okay, I could not have gotten into Harvard if my grades were better. I could not have gotten into Yale. So affirmative action and anti-Semitism go hand in hand. And I hope that women and all minorities and marginal groups have the ability to get into jobs that they want and schools that they want in the future based on merit and not on tests that have been skewed to their lack of abilities. And thank you for listening.
So I'm going to just make some brief comments regarding all of it, but in sort of a concise manner. As for the anti-Semitism with Kyrie and Kanye, I agree with you in terms of like, yeah, we need to educate people. I think I think the long-term solution is what you said, which is educating people. But in the short term, trying to understand why people feel this way, most of the time it's a personal vendetta that they feel that other people need to share with them. Or it was taught by said parents or elders or whoever raised them, or someone that they looked up to. But overall, the goal should not be to meter or cut off the person that is doing wrong, as really the importance is to teach those who view it to not accept it. Correct. So because everyone should have the freedom to choose and say what they want, right or wrong. whether it's the most gruesome stuff in the world or the nicest stuff in the world.
Right.
But it's the true heart of the problem is the fact that Kanye said these things, and then people felt empowered to go ensue harm onto Jewish people and inflict damage on people's businesses, property, physical persons, and so on. That's the real problem. And the real problem should be, why do they feel empowered by this one person? Why is that one person giving them that idea? As for the comments of like people who don't believe Hitler and the whole 6 million Jews dying was real, when you end up with people who are that into conspiracies, you have to just walk away, because I'm not going to make any assumptions on their religious backgrounds or anything about them. But if you are arguing with someone, wow, the sun just like blew out my screen here for anyone watching. If you are arguing with someone and they claim to believe that something as grand as that just didn't happen, and then you ask them why, and they start coming up with a large scale conspiracy that the government and these countries and these people and all of it is connected into a spider web of things. Most things in life are simpler than we realize. Just by my short experience in life so far, most things in life, no matter how complex we think it may be, are usually way simpler than we think they are. Sometimes there's some nuance to it, but like most things are simple. And not even like to take it to that philosophical perspective. This is history. Millions of people know this happened. You're telling me millions and millions of people who went through that war and went through that time were all just somehow brainwashed and like taught something else? No. So when you are experiencing a conversation with someone who believes something like that is fake, it is better if you can try and speak to them and educate them. But at its true heart, it's a lost cause.
Peter, your volume is very low.
Oh, I don't know what to do about that. I will, hopefully it just fixes itself. It might be like a electrical issue within the house, because I've been having like internet issues. So
okay.
I apologize for those who are listening. My voice just got low. But yeah, anyways, people who believe those grand scheme like conspiracies, do your best to educate or send them in the right direction, but it's not worth the energy to deal with. Kanye, Kyrie, of course there should be some form of punishment, because that's, but the definition of what is the punishment, what is quantifiably justice, I'm not here to determine. As for affirmative action, the goal of affirmative action is to apply equal access and opportunity for all people. That's the goal of affirmative action. So that would mean that it is attempting to provide equal access and opportunity for white, Black, Asian, everyone, every demographic, every sex, gender, and sex, and disability, and veteran, non-veteran, all of that. That's the goal. But the problem is, it is just a goal. Most places are not going to, I wouldn't say most, I don't know, but not everyone is going to play by those rules. They may say they do and they don't. So I would say the idea of affirmative action is a wonderful thing. Equal opportunity, equitable access and opportunity for all. That's a wonderful concept. But the problem is you just don't see it. You don't see it, no matter how much. And it's hard to attack affirmative action in the way that you are discussing it, because there's so many other factors that come into play with it. And on top of that, there's plenty of people who have not surfaced, but plenty of people who have used affirmative action, shall we say, or experienced affirmative action. And it was beneficial, and it did what it was supposed to do. So I think it's, like I said, I think it's very hard to attack affirmative action as a whole, because there are still benefits that can be reaped from them, but there are problems. So attack the problems, but not the whole thing. That's what I would say in terms of that.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
If you're applying, let's say you're finished with high school, and now you're applying to a college, and you have a B+ average
Mhm.
and good scores, and somebody has a C+ average with not such good scores,
Mhm.
and they get in and you don't, to this specific college, how would you feel about that?
Depends on what we're measuring here, because it's not just about my scores and their scores, because the whole point of affirmative action is meant to give equal access and opportunity. If I got high scores, but I went to a school that everyone gets high scores at, and it's known that I have quality education, I have quality resources and a variety of other things, and the person who got the bad scores lives or goes to a school that has poor resources, poor education, and even though his scores were lower than mine, he scored the top in his class. I scored the low end of my class. So realistically, he deserves to go there, or she deserves to go there, because if they scored the top of their class, even if it's lower than mine, what is happening with this sun? If I am at a good school, good resources, and everyone's scoring B's and higher, and I scored a B, but I'm in the lower half of my class, and this kid's got lower grades than me, but he scored the top 2. He's second place of the highest in his whole class of whatever graduating, let's say 500 people. He deserves it. He deserves it because he's above his entire class. That shows you how hard he's working. And it shows you what he's overcoming, arguably, right? Because there's, again, a lot of nuances.
A lot of nuances.
So I would argue the idea of it being just the fact that I had better grades and they had lower grades, that's not what it's about. There's so many more things to pay attention to. Where was this person? How did they end up with those grades? Were they doing it on their own? Like, what, again, the resources, the time, the education, the status of the school, you know, and the money. Like, I may have good grades, but I may not be able to afford it as much as that guy. Or because I have good grades, but I have a middle-class family or a lower middle-class family who can only semi-afford it. The school's not guaranteed that they'll get their money from me. But if they go for a lower class guy who's gonna, or a lower class guy with lower grades, or a lower class girl with lower grades, and they take 100% of the government or federal loans out, the school's guaranteed their money. They're just guaranteed their money. So they may take that as well. So my point still stands. It's not just about the grades. And to further that, that's why there is good and bad with this affirmative action, because at times it can be the conversation of the school is picking someone over money. So
it could be also a portion of being a quota system.
Correct. It could be a quota system as well, because they want to claim that they have that 50% of their campus is people of color. Great.
Yeah, and you just hit the point. there's title money that comes in based on who you permit in your school.
Right. No, I
to get-
know. But that's why I'm saying the whole
Yeah.
concept, the idea of affirmative action is great, but the actual application of it is not 100% there. And it's like
Mhm.
that's with anything when you're, at least when you're in America, because too many people are money focused and individualistic focused. And I've had that conversation on this podcast too many times.
Yeah.
So, and
Okay.
speaking of lack of representation and in minorities, including Jewish people, we have Twitter. And that's the next segment that we're going to talk about, which
Yes.
is Twitter.
Have
So for
fun with
those,
that.
I'm for those who don't know what's been happening the past week and a half. Months ago, let me back up. Months ago, Elon jokingly said he would buy Twitter for $44 billion. He then backed out of that deal because he claimed it wasn't an official deal. Twitter lost stupid amount of money in stocks because people thought he was actually buying it. And he backed out. They sued him and they won, and he was forced to buy Twitter. About a week and a half ago, not even a week and a half ago, I think it's about a week and a half ago, he bought Twitter. He was the owner, like officially. And within a couple of days, he fired 3/4 of Twitter's internal works. That includes content moderators, people who would watch out for racist or sexist or problematic demographics of people who would attack those people. Communication department, IT department, everything. And he implemented a new feature called Twitter Blue. And what it was a subscription service for a verified blue checkmark for people who are not savvy on social media. Every social media platform has a certification feature. So if you are famous or political or some major public figure or company, you are given a certification of a blue checkmark. That certifies that you are that person. So if Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson makes a TikTok account, he can go and talk to whatever and say, hey, certify me so that people don't copy and then speak on my behalf without being me. So he gets a blue check mark. And now there could be 5,000 Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson TikTok accounts, but the one with the blue check is his official one. Twitter just sold that certification for $8 a month. The best way to describe that would be like being able to buy a birth certificate for $8 a month and just be someone else. Because what people very quickly, within like half a day to a day, realized is that they can make an account in the name of Pepsi or Disney, buy the Twitter Blue feature, $8 a month, get a blue check mark next to their name, and then impersonate companies and people. A prime example, and I believe this was one of the first ones that started this sort of chain reaction, company called Eli and Lilly. They own the patent for insulin. Absolutely hate the sun right now. I'm going to sidebar. This sun keeps coming in and out of the clouds and blowing out my screen. Anyways, Eli and Lilly owns insulin patent, which is an awful sin, and that company needs to burn every inch of that organization, because the guy who developed the patent for insulin sold it for $1 because he wanted it to be free for everyone. And then somehow Eli and Lilly decides to get their hands on it and jack up the price by 1,000%. So anyways, someone faked an Eli and Lilly account, got the blue check mark, and said insulin is now free. Within one day, they lost like $2 billion or something like that in stocks because their stocks dropped by like 3 or 4%. People realized, oh my God, I can do this with other companies and people. Someone faked LeBron James and said he's requesting a trade from the Lakers. Someone faked, where is it? I pulled a couple up. Where the hell did I put them? Someone faked Chiquita, I don't know what Chiquita is, but they said, we've just overthrown the government of Brazil. And they had to back out. And the real Chiquita had to say, no, no, we haven't done that since 1954. And so tons of people started flooding the internet, or at least Twitter, with these fake tweets. And some of them were just humorous, like someone made a Pepsi account saying, oh, Coke's better. Or someone made a Nestle account and said, we steal your water and sell it back to you. But the Twitter Blue idea was supposed to subsidize Elon's big pay for the $44 billion deal he had with Twitter. People got their hands on the fact that they can do this, and within like 2 days, might have been 3, they had to pause Twitter Blue because advertisers were sprinting away from Twitter because they're like, we can't, how the hell do we advertise on here? How does Walmart advertise or put advertisements on here when you are giving the everyman the freedom to impersonate Walmart and say the most horrendous shit that will cause them to lose millions upon billions of dollars? So I was absolutely eating that crap up. I loved it. I was, so good, so enjoyable. I stand by the definition, and we're not going to have this argument today, but I stand by the definition. No one deserves $1 billion. And additionally, no billionaire has earned $1 billion ethically. I will stand by that. We cannot have that argument today because that will go on.
I'm not arguing. I sent you an article about Elon appointing a new chief executive.
Yeah, he's trying to shift. He's trying to shift the responsibility to someone else and then let it go, because he didn't want Twitter in actuality. He did it because fuck it. And so now that he actually was being held accountable, he's like, oh shit, I actually have to do something about this. So he's going to find someone else to cover, and they'll run it for him, and it'll just be part of his business ventures. And he'll just be in debt for whatever. But we're going to take a quick pause. This is your time to take a bathroom break. I have to reload the Zoom call. So for anyone, you can pause right here. None of you are going to realize it. I'm just going to cut the clips together. But take a pause right here. Be right back. And we are back. That took a lot longer than I expected. Little tech issues behind the scenes, but we're good. Yeah, anyways, fake Twitter. As I was looking just now, it's apparently completely gone. It's not even on pause anymore. They just straight up removed it, which is what they should have done. I highly recommend anyone who is bored to look up some of the fake tweets. There's really funny ones with like Ben Shapiro and Ted Cruz, which I thought were quite comical. But yeah, Twitter Blue was a disaster. And it was a purely just Elon trying to make a quick cash grab. And to further the conversation of the rich trying to just get richer, I wanted to add PPP loans because I saw a TikTok yesterday, I think it was, where someone, or 2 days ago, might have been, I don't know, something like that, a day or two ago, someone made a TikTok and she was doing a podcast with someone else, and she was saying how if, in theory, right, she could have started a business in 2019, hired all of her friends, and regardless of whether the business succeeded or failed, she hired all her friends. And the business, awful, failed, barely working, but it's still a business. She could have applied for PPP loans and then used the PPP loans to pay off her friend's student debt. And the PPP loans would have been 100% forgiven. But yet we have politicians, specifically Republicans, who are against student loan forgiveness. I don't know enough about the business idea and building the business, and from what the small research I have done, that is a doable thing, that you could have started a business. What the hell is happening to my screen? Jesus Christ. I got to get like a blocker because that literally just turned me into Casper the Ghost. Anyways, from the small research I have done, that is possible. You could have started a business with your friends and put them on a payroll, quote unquote, and gotten PPP loans and said, I need PPP loans to pay off my thing. And you could have gotten them all or some of it and given it as quote unquote.
Explain what a PPP loan is.
They're just loans that the government gave businesses and major figures to pay off their workers and help subsidize the business during the pandemic. It's a special type of loan, right? Like you have federal loans, you've got state loans, you've got private loans, you've got PPP loans was a specifically government funded set of loans given to specifically businesses and major people to subsidize during the pandemic. Absolute quantum brain move if you did this and like hired your friends and somehow foresaw that we were going to get forgivable loans. And it's funny because it's just a personal annoyance that I have because I don't, one of the things that the pandemic has specifically shown, at least me, is that money is completely fake. It's just absolutely and utterly fake. We gave millions, if not billions of dollars to organizations, to major people, to Republicans and Democrats alike, but specifically Republicans because they're the ones who are against student loan forgiveness. Millions of dollars went to them and their loans were forgiven. But for whatever reason,
foreign governments.
Well, right. Okay. Even more of a reason. And foreign governments. Millions upon millions of dollars. Completely forgiven, washed clean. It's not even like on the books. If anything, most of it was probably tax deductible for some people. And I can't get my student loan cleared. Or even lessened, right? Or like it completely destroys the concept of money for me. Because I'm like, great. So if the government can do that, why is school so expensive? Why are my medical bills so expensive? Like without healthcare, why is it that if I have to get certain medical shots that they're $25,000 a shot and I have to be on it the rest of my life? For lack of a whole story, I'm going to be getting on a medication for psoriasis. Like Cosentyx or Skyrizi or things like that. I believe Cosentyx might have been another one without private pay, $25,000 a shot. I would have to take that once every 4 weeks for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's like me with my prostate
25,
cancer shots.
But $25,000? That's not how much it costs because with my Medicaid, it's $20. Really.
Mm-hmm.
So like absolutely insane numbers. And so just for reference, some of the Republicans that ended up with money that were forgiven was Matt Gaetz with $500,000, Marjorie Taylor Greene with $200,000, Vern Buchanan with $2.8 million from Florida, Kevin Hearn, $1 million, Roger Williams, $1.5 million, Brett Guthrie, $4.3 million, Mike Kelly, just under $1 million, Mark Wayne Mullen, just under $1 million, and Carol Miller with $3.1 million.
Interesting.
Millions and millions of dollars, and they get it forgiven. So a
Peter,
personal vendetta against that.
It's amazing, though. Just like when we talked about affirmative action and anti-Semitism, when people have things in their head, you can't change them. I have listened on the radio talk shows in Florida and also spoken to people about it. And a majority of the people here say, listen, I went to school, I paid my college tuition, or I didn't go to college. Why should I have to pay somebody else's college tuition by, negating their payments? So, we got different
but hold on.
populations.
Let me answer that one. I can answer that because the problem with that question is it is deeply individualistic. Deeply. Everyone wants a me first because I guarantee you, these people who claim I went to college, why do I have to pay for someone else's? If their child was given a beautiful opportunity, but was told you have to pay $75,000 a year in college loans or in payment, and those parents can't afford it, I guarantee you most of them would love the idea of having lower educational debt and or affordable education or forgiveness and loans. I guarantee.
Totally agree.
So
totally agree.
And so the problem with that whole why do I have to pay is a lot of people who make that argument don't tend to think farther than their nose. So recognize that, like a lot of European countries, yeah, your taxes are higher, but your infrastructure, your trains, the busing systems, the transportation in general is impeccable. The healthcare is amazing. You've got clean streets, you've got good businesses, thriving businesses, and things that are small but help everyone in the long term. But people don't want to invest in that. They want their mansion, their healthcare, and their food all taken care of by themselves, and they want to live in a bubble. They don't want to.
You live in New Jersey, New York, and you're paying the highest taxes going, and you still have the highest crime, and you have filth in areas in New York and New Jersey. That doesn't sit well with me.
Well, it doesn't sit well, of course, and I would argue again, this is a explicitly or in part explicitly an American problem. The fact that we have somehow very, very high taxes, but yet we have the most garbage transit system. New Jersey Transit is awful, hasn't been updated in at least 20 years minimum. They're literally fixing it as it breaks. New Jersey is a cesspool in significant areas, not the whole place. There's obviously gorgeous parts of New Jersey, but there are significant cesspools in New Jersey. And we have fucking tolls everywhere. So constant Garden State Parkway, God knows how many fucking tolls are on that damn thing. So much money is coming in and out of that state.
Yeah, there was a joke, Peter, that this young man went from New Jersey to New York and never did it before, didn't have enough money to come back, never was able to come back to New Jersey.
Yeah, because I remember I saw the toll one day going under the Lincoln Tunnel. It's like $20 just to go through the fucking tunnel to get from New Jersey to New York. We went through two tolls before that just to go from New Jersey to New York by car. It was something like $50. It was ridiculous because it's like $20 there just to get to the tunnel. But before that, we had to go on we had to pass through another toll and so on and so forth. And my favorite part about these stupid tolls is you can avoid them. When I see my girlfriend and she has a toll just off the bridge that takes her into Pennsylvania, there's an exit just before the toll. It takes an extra 2 minutes to go around and you go across this bridge instead of that bridge, you don't pay the toll. Takes exactly where I need to go. Don't pay the toll. So again, money is absolutely arbitrary in this regard. Why are there tolls if we can just take this exit and not pay it? Why is there so much money in the country, let alone the state, and none of it is going towards quality of life for everyone overall? Healthcare, education, clean streets, clean water. Why do we still have states who are still dealing with brown water? Michigan, like it's, and you've got other countries in Europe that have found free water, clean streets, free healthcare, free or low and affordable education, low crime or no crime, depending on where you're going. And those who do commit crime are rehabilitated. Those who commit crime are rehabilitated and reintegrated back into society as functioning people so that your tax dollars don't continue to pay for their living in jail. So your money is actually being used properly. And then on top of that, you have working trains and working buses that actually are beneficial and efficient.
Okay, so I'm too old, but suppose you want to dual citizenship, where would you go?
Dual citizenship, I'm already discussing this with my girlfriend going forward, but the places we're going to look at is there's a couple places we've discussed and we need to do more research on it, but the places that we have looked at as possible like go-tos in terms of research first is Norway, Finland, is it Italy? I forget what the other one was. It might have been Italy. And
I know certain poor areas in Italy are paying people to come restructure their homes that are run down if they stay a certain amount of times.
Oh yeah, a couple countries are doing that as well. But I believe it was Italy and then one other place. But those are a couple of the places that we are looking at in terms of research first, not like that's where we're going because we don't know enough about it at this time. And it's not even something that we can make a reality at this time. So it's not like we're taking it 100% serious at this moment. But these are places that we're looking at.
We're not as smart as we think we are. You know, we're not as dumb as we might be, but not as smart as we think we are, because these PPP loans were available. We didn't make use of them. We could have made use of them by being creative, and we didn't.
I know, but the problem is, and this is a consistent problem in America, and I want to finish off on this because we're going a bit long, but why does everything have to be clever? Why do I have to be clever with my finances so that I don't have to pay taxes? Why do I have to be clever by asking the hospital for an itemized bill so that my medical bill goes from $10,000 to $2,000 because they're making me pay $50 for a fucking Band-Aid if I don't ask for an itemized bill? Why do I have to play these games with greedy people? Why? Like, that's the true problem. And again, that's a problem not just in America, but it's more concentrated in America because you don't have these issues in other countries. My favorite is taxes. The government knows how much money I make. I somehow have to figure out how much money I've made exactly. And if I'm off, they will know. And I get in trouble. If they know, why don't they do my taxes for me automatically? Why isn't it auto-filed like in European countries? It's auto-filed. It's automatically done. Why am I left to do it on my own and get it wrong? The reason is because it's cost efficient for the government. They don't have to work as hard because they don't want to, because the government is awful.
Yeah, they don't know what kind of
deduction. But also, if I get it wrong, they get to charge me. They get to make me pay more. That's why. And so
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know, and it's not even, it's just ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And it's funny that I'm talking about the government because I just, at the beginning of this podcast, was like talking about conspiracies. These aren't really conspiracies. These are just genuine things that are happening. Like you can compare them to other countries. So
Okay.
I just find it funny that I went on a tear of
That's
people
good.
who,
It's good to
we come
vent.
full circle. We come full circle. People who complain about the Holocaust being fake. I'm not complaining of any conspiracies. These are all legitimate things. The government can very much do automatic taxes. They just don't, because we see other countries with it. Um, and people are money hungry. So whatever.
Yeah.
But anyways, that is my bitter old man rant for the episode. Twitter Blue, an absolutely outstanding feat for a billionaire, absolute dumbass. I cannot wait to see what happens further. Eat the rich. Let's get it.
Yeah. I just want to say it's bright, but when you have your fingers in too many things, how can you manage it? So he better get himself some good managers. So
Yeah,
you have anything else to say?
I do not. I hope everyone who's listening and made it all the way to the end here, I'm proud of you. I'll give you a big wet kiss if you want it. Um, and thank you for watching or listening, and wherever you are.
Have a great
Uh,
holiday.
have a good holiday. Yes, we will not have an episode until after Thanksgiving if you celebrate, or Black Friday if you consider that your holiday. Um, and we will see you in the next one.
Okay. Peace out. Love to
Peace
everybody.
out.